You have to take chances in life. You know, if you want your life to be something special, you eventually have to take a chance. You can't do normal things and expect extraordinary results. It doesn't work that way. You have to take an exceptional chance one time. And it's going to cost you something that you care deeply about. Bishop Jakes told me one time, he said, in order to get to the next level in life, you can see where you want to go, but it's a glass ceiling. The reason you can see it is because it's a glass ceiling. In order to break through a glass ceiling, you're going to have to shatter the glass. Anytime you shatter the glass, it's going to be blood shed. And the blood that you shed is going to be something that you care deeply about. So if you are not willing to shed something you care deeply about, you cannot go to the next level.
There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says, it's not my mother nor my father, nor my brother nor my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. See, I used to blame everything outside. And then let me give you a little philosophy that helped turn my life around. For your notes, here it is. It's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event. A happening. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather it's what you do that changes everything. So that's a key phrase. It's not what happens, it's what you do. What happens is about the same. You might put that in parentheses here. Same. What people do, that's what's different. Anything can happen, right? Everything can happen. I've heard all the stories. I've been one of the stories. Hey, we could all tell stories all night long, right? Happenings. Anything can happen. Have you heard of Murphy's Laws? Anybody here heard of Murphy's Laws? Okay, most of you have. Murph had these laws. One of them was, if anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's Laws. He was not one of the great positive speakers of the day. But anyway, it's still true though, right? Anything can go wrong, everything can go wrong. For sure. I've fallen out of the sky so many times. Once to the tune of a couple of million. Devastating. Took me a while to survive that one. Now, it wasn't all that much, but it was all I had. I mean, that's when it's much, right? When it's all you got. If you got 3, 2 go, you got 1 left, you ain't looking that bad. But when it all goes. Has anybody been there when it all went? Anybody? Come on, the rest of you liars. Go ahead. Hey, we've all been there, right? When it all went. Of course, it used to be a long time ago, right? When you ran out of money, got to 0, you were all through. Heck, now you can whistle right on by 0, right? I mean, they will bury you. That's what they will do. But see, those are the happenings, right? Everything can happen. Anything can happen. But it's not the happenings. It's what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on. Everybody's had their share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Everybody has them. The difference is what you do about it. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. So see, that won't help. 2 men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home. Especially the sales. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? See, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are gonna be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are gonna be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life. What can you do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Good question. What can you do with economic chaos, massive disappointment? What can you do with a broken heart? What can you do when it won't work? Good question. So if I had a word with you tonight, one-on-one, just you and me, I think my personal advice to you would be, This year, 1981, reach down inside of you and come up with some more of those remarkable human gifts. They're there, waiting to be utilized. And then change anything for you want to change. And I challenge you to do that because you can change. If you don't like how it is for you, change it. If it doesn't suit you, change it. If it doesn't please you, change it. If it isn't enough, change it. And I challenge you to do that because you can change. See, you don't ever have to be the same again after tonight, only by choice. If you don't like your present address, change it. You're not a tree.
Bigger Thomas, in the book The Invisible Man, I think it was, he said, the impulse to dream has been slowly beaten out of me through the experience of life. And most people, ladies and gentlemen, have stopped living their dreams because of the lessons they've learned from life or things they've picked up, because we've only been born with two fears. The fear of a loud sound or the fear of falling. All the other fears are fears we learn, fears we pick up. Whatever you're scared of, your life, the value you brought to the planet, far more important. Whatever you're afraid of, you're stronger. So as we begin to look toward the future and look at what will it take for us to break through those fears, one, acknowledging the fear, knowing it's all right, some fear is healthy. Beginning to know that your dreams, your passions, your drive to achieve whatever it is you want, as it has more power and meaning, it will move you past your fears. As you begin to feel that you deserve it, your passion and goal is so strong, the fears won't matter. As you begin to trust yourself and put yourself in the situation where you have to make it happen, you will make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe this. I know this from my own life experience. I know that you've got greatness within you. I know that you have unlimited potential in you. I know that you have something to give to the universe that was not here before you showed up. Somebody said that life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. What kind of gift are you giving? And what kind of gift could you give if fear wasn't an issue? And I'm saying you can have fears, but don't surrender. Don't let your fears have you. You're more than capable of making this your decade.
I think there is a wonderful metaphor for this that I have created in my life for how to make this work. And I think that Regis Philbin is the one who's responsible for it. All right? My buddy Regis. There's a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that has been popular all over the world. I'm in South Africa, it comes on. All right? I was in Australia, and they've got their own Australian version. And in Greece, they have the Greek edition of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And basically, this show has two levels that you have to get to. Now, the first level is the $1,000 level. And at the $1,000 level, you basically have to answer a question like, on your hand, you have some digits. Those digits on your hand are called your feet, your nose, your ears, your fingers. And everybody who ever goes on the show has this horrible dread that they're going to go out on one of those questions, right? So basically, in order to get to the $1,000 level, all you have to do is answer 5 pretty simple questions in order to get to the $1,000 level. Now, on this program, the $1,000 level for you in this metaphor means that you will leave with something if you get this. At least get this. This is the $1,000 level. You must send blame out of your life for any conditions of your life. Blame has to go. Now, blame means if you're sitting there with a disease, you say without guilt, it's mine, I take responsibility for it. This means that if you have been through any tough circumstances in your life, this means if you have a minimal amount of financial security in your life, this means if your children don't get along with you, This means that if your neighbors are taking up a petition to get you out of the neighborhood, whatever it might be that's going on in your life, you name it, and everybody across this great country and across this world has a series of these things that you're willing to say, I am here because of the choices that I have made right now. I'm willing to say that. Even though it's difficult, and we know it's really not your fault. We know really there's a lot of people out there who are really bad, all right? But you're willing to say no blame. That's the first level, all right? That's where you understand no justified resentment. And then on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show, there is what is called the $32,000 level. And the $32,000 level is not only an opportunity for you to walk away with a sizable amount of goodies, which you can walk away from tonight in this program, but it also is the door opener to multi-wealth. But you got to get to this in order to have an opportunity to move into these transcendent levels, all right? Millionaire spiritual status, all right? You got to get through these next 5 questions. And this $32,000 question, or level rather, comes to this. It came to me from a quotation that I used in the writing of a spiritual solution to every problem. I read a book that was written a couple of thousand years ago by Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras, the aphorisms of Patanjali. And one of those sutras, one of those aphorisms, observations that this brilliant man made almost 2,000 years ago, was this. He said, if you become steadfast in your abstentions of thoughts of harm directed towards others, all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in your presence. Now this translates to blame, pretty basic, no more blame. I'm just not going to assign responsibility to other people for where I am, because now I have an opportunity to get rid of it. If I think someone else caused it, then I've got to wait for somebody else to change in order for me to get rid of it, and you might wait forever for that. But if I take responsibility for it, I can do something, including move on, which might be the most important thing to do. But at the higher level, when there are no justified resentments, what you are doing is what St. Francis did, Francesco. What you are doing is you are at a place where you are sending love in response to hate. You are literally saying, no matter what comes my way, I am going to be steadfast in my abstention of thoughts of harm directed toward others. I'm going to work hard at, no matter what comes my way, having it come out of me what I want to come out of me, and that is love, and that is a higher energy. And if you can get to that level, Patanjali said, all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in your presence. I have a little girl, a precious little girl. I have 6 precious girls and 2 precious sons, but I have a little girl who is almost 12. And she loves animals like no one I've ever met in my life. I mean, her whole life revolves around animals. And when we walk in the woods, butterflies avoid me, fly away from people around, and they come and they land right on her arm, and it happens all the time. All living creatures, she couldn't have a thought of harm directed towards any living creature. And Patanjali said to us, all living creatures will cease to feel fear or enmity or anger in the presence of those who can send love in response to hate. That's what I mean when I say there are no justified resentments.
Some are inspired to take advantage of something that comes to town, others pass it up. We don't know the mystery to that. Here's what I call it, mysteries of the mind, and I just leave it at that. Some things I don't try to figure out. I take the simple approach now. Right? Some people do and some people don't. I mean, that's about as profound as my philosophy is. Some buy and some don't buy. Some go for it and some don't. Some change and Some don't. And if you've been around for a while, you can usually work out the numbers, right? Out of 10, 3 do, 7 don't. Whatever business you're involved in, pretty soon you got this ratio going. The ones that do, the ones that don't. You say, well, why don't the ones that don't, how come they don't? We don't know. I just leave it as a mystery. I used to try to understand all that. I just take the simple approach now. The guy says, this happens to me, this goes wrong for me, and all this stuff goes wrong for me. How come all this stuff happens to me? I say, I don't know, beats me. The best I've been able to figure out is those kind of things always happen to people like you. I mean, right? That's the best I got. I don't know. I'm an amateur on this stuff. What do I know? So, just take the simple approach, right? That's how it is. Who knows? Interesting story says the day the Christian church was started. Now, I'm an amateur on the Bible, but best account I can remember, the day the Christian church was started, a magnificent sermon was preached. Great presentation. And if you're a student at all of good communication, it was one of the classic presentations of all times. The sermon, first day Christian church was started. And it said this sermon, this presentation was given to a multitude, meaning a lot of people. But it was interesting, as the account gives us, the record, it says, when the sermon was finished, there was a variety of reaction to the same sermon. Isn't that fascinating? I find it fascinating. It said some that heard this presentation were perplexed. And I read the presentation, sounded pretty straightforward to me. Said, why would somebody be perplexed with a good, sincere, straightforward presentation? Best answer I've got. They are the perplexed. I mean, what other explanation is there? It doesn't matter who's preaching. Right? It said some that heard this presentation mocked and laughed, made fun of the presentation. I thought, hey, this looks pretty sincere to me. If you give a sincere, honest presentation, why would somebody mock and laugh? Easy explanation. They are the mockers and the laughers. What else would you expect them to do? Right? I used to try to straighten all that out. Say, well, they shouldn't do that. I don't do that anymore. I've got peace of mind now. I can sleep like a baby, not try to straighten all this stuff out. I used to be so naive. I used to say, well, liars shouldn't lie. See, how naive can you be? Of course they're supposed to lie. That's why we call them liars. They lie. So I don't straighten this stuff out anymore. Anyway, it said some that heard this magnificent presentation didn't know what was going on. And they're usually easy to spot. They're usually saying, what's going on, right? I mean, they don't know what's going on. But interesting, right? A variety of reaction to the same sincere, honest presentation. Now, it also says, in wrapping it up, some that heard the presentation believed. And I think that's who the speaker was looking for, the believers. Interesting.
They think that success is supposed to happen like that. It was very difficult for me to figure out where my boundaries were because I'd grown up poor and didn't have anything. And now that I know better, I know I don't have to do that again. It's one of the most powerful lessons any of us can ever know. I think in order to actually do the stuff, money is important. But I also think the thing that I hold the dearest and the reason why the noise about running for president moved me so humbly and deeply is because it means that you have somewhere in the work gained the people's trust.
Yes, you have.
And there is nothing more important to me than having the trust of the people and the audience. And I recognize that it is the audience who came every day and watched, from all over the world that actually, that helped me to be who I am. So I think the
renown, the
standing, the ability to be trusted and to say something, but also listen, don't play the billionaire thing small. Don't play the be small.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal because it allows you to it allows you to actually do the work. So instead of saying, gee, I would like to help so many people, or you should go out and help so many people, you can actually use that for yourself. And I am now at this stage of my career thinking about how to do that more poignantly and fruitfully. Yeah. I'm now looking for ways that I can do that to create a level of sustainability within our community.
So that's a beautiful question. And I love parenting. One of the key things in my growth list is be as great a parent as I can be, because I think that's one of the biggest responsibilities that being human, you know, the whole act of being human gives us, right? To raise another like baby you and not that kid up. So
Too much,
right. So one of the key things, I remember talking to a parental psychologist called Shelley Lefko. And I asked her once, Shelley, what is the greatest gift a parent could give a child? And Shelley said this. She said, the greatest thing you can do for your children is to be acutely aware that they form their beliefs because of you. So make sure that you are taking absolute care to give them the right beliefs. Now, this is so important. Kids are little meaning-making machines. It's how the human brain has evolved to work. We create meaning about the world. Now, if you think about, say, American parenting, right? Let's say Billy, your kid is sitting at a table and he drops his fork. And you go, Billy, don't drop that fork. And 2 minutes later, Billy drops his spoon. And now you're like, Billy, I told you not to drop that. And that's, now you drop a spoon, go stand in that corner. So you take Billy off the chair, you go put him in the corner. And if you're parents, I've done that. I know you guys have done that as well. Now I thought that was fine. I'm not slapping the kid. Right. I'm just making him stand in the corner so he learns to hold his frickin' cutlery. So Shelley said that the problem with that is this. We're not paying attention to Billy's meaning-making machine. It's that machine in the child's head that's creating meaning. What if this is what is going on in Billy's head? He accidentally dropped his fork. And he was surprised that his mom, questioned him. He's a kid, his hands, he's still learning to use his hands. And so he wanted to find out, was his mom really angry with him? Is mom really angry? What if I drop my spoon? I just want to see what happens. That's how kids understand the world. They experiment. So he drops his spoon. Now mom sends him to a corner. He doesn't get to finish his meal, which he was enjoying. Now think about, Shelley says, what's going on in Billy's head. The meaning-making machine is turning. He's going, Mom doesn't trust me. Mom is angry at me. Mom sends me to a corner because she doesn't respect me. Mom doesn't love me. Does she love me? Why am I in a corner? Why can't I speak now? My voice is not important. And these things become part of our identity. And these things, when they repeat, is what creates adults that can be so broken. All of us grow up with these holes within ourselves. We feel not loved enough. We feel not important enough. We feel that we don't matter. All of us grow up. I had these issues as a teenager. And it's because our style of parenting doesn't take care of the meaning-making machine in a child's brain. So how do you do that? Well, you be acutely aware of how a child's brain works. So with my son, let me give you an example of the opposite, right? I was driving my car with my son 2 weeks ago, and he asked me a question. I can't remember what it was, but it was something about science. He's a science junkie. And as he asked me the question, the phone rang, and I checked it, and it was my CFO. I knew it was an important call, so I took the call. And 2 minutes into the call, I realized I'd ignored my son. Now, what does that tell him? It occurred to me that his meaning-making machine might go off and go, oh, Dad's work is more important than me. I'm not important. Dad's CFO is more important. So I paused the call and I said, Hayden, I am so sorry. Your question is so important to me. You're the most important person in my life. I just need to finish this call because it's only going to be 2 minutes and I'm guessing it's something urgent, and then I'm going to give you full attention. Those simple statements tweak his meaning-making machine and gives him a sense of importance, gives him a sense of understanding that he is truly important. So as parents, you want to be careful of that. Now, if you do that, your kid is growing up with healthy beliefs which are empowering, beliefs of confidence, beliefs that say, I matter. And when children have that, they are less immune to the rules of the culturescape. They are less immune to a religious leader who might say, you're a sinner because you ate the wrong type of meat, or because you didn't follow some arbitrary bullshit rule written 2,000 years ago. They are able to use their own, they get a positive meaning-making machine, and they are better able to use that sense of power and confidence to navigate the world without falling for other people's boat.
What is it that gives your life a sense of meaning and purpose? Because once you find that, it puts you in your power place. See, if you know what your life work is, I encourage you to start working on it. If you can't do it all at one time, do just a little bit of it.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. And so I just want to, for a moment,
I want us to be okay talking about fear. Because when we talk about it, we can disseminate it, we can minimize it into the nothingness that it always was.
At the end of the day, the only thing that you really control is yourself. At the end of the day, the only thing that you can hope for is to be going after something that has meaning, something that has purpose. So what is it that you really want?
I need you to open up your ears. Open up your ears. Because the you from the future is telling you thank you.
That is when you need to develop that unshakable self-confidence, that believe that you can do it. And confidence is not the same as arrogance. You see, arrogance is thinking that you're above everybody else. Confidence is knowing that no one is above you. Do you feel confident enough in your own abilities that you can do what it takes? Are you willing to bet on yourself? Not just words, but action.
Well, I think the one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, when you actually do things, you have more success. If you have more success, and sometimes a big part of success is just not being fucking lazy and just doing it. Yeah. That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working. Like, you're not going to feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, I'd be a fat.
In other words, most people don't give themselves enough credit all the time. They're very aware of these 20% things and not aware of the 80, right? And that's why the dosage is so important too. You've nailed it. It should be 80-20, right? Because people get addicted to this. I'm not good at this. People don't like this about me. I don't feel good. Instead of focusing on the 80 and stacking up, wow, I did eat what I said I was going to today. I did get up when I said I was going to. I made the amount of phone calls. I treated people in such a way I promised myself. It's not just doing those things. It's rewarding it. It's being aware of it and stacking that up.
And this is the most important thing. I want you to be able to create meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling lives for yourselves and learn how to use that to make an impact and a difference in the lives of others. That will be true